It's got a wobble to it, and I don't like it. Hey guys, welcome back to Freedom One Garage. Appreciate you watching our stuff on the channel. It is still a Jeep thing around here. Another good customer and friend of mine brought us his 2008 Jeep JK, is what the Jeepers call him. Jeep calls them the Wrangler Unlimiteds. And yeah, this is a nice little Jeep, 2008. It's got some miles on it, but it dresses up nicely. It's got 20-inch wheels. Fuelies, of course, and the 35-inch fuel Super MTs to go with it. Dressed out all black, kind of a sharp Jeep. Has a really annoying squeak in the rear end, particularly in the left rear. We took it on a little bit of a test drive, figured out the noise, and right away I thought, probably needs brakes. It's got enough miles, it needs some brakes. But then we put it on jack stands just to kind of verify that diagnosis, and we found something very peculiar that we can share with you. So let's start this bad right up. And then for this experiment, we'll have to turn traction control down. We're gonna throw it in drive. We're on jack stands. Oh yeah, hey. We are safely on jack stands in the back, and the front wheels are chock, so this Jeep can't go anywhere. We're in two-wheel drive. Okay, we're gonna take our foot off the brake. Just let it idle. Idling away, no squeaky there. So now let's go underneath. And just for reference, let's go over to the passenger side. And watch right here, that rotor, and then watch the caliper, and particularly these caliper bolts and how it stays true to the rotor. Now let's go over to the driver's side. Look on this side. She's doing the mambo back and forth. We've either got a warped or bent rotor, or hopefully not a bent axle. Next step, we got to take the tire and wheel off and do a little more inspecting underneath there. All right, now one thing that could kind of contribute to the warped rotor could be a really uneven torquing of this wheel. So we're going to come in here by hand and just kind of feel what these feel like here to get them loose. Those two seem pretty even. Oh, that one's quite a bit tighter. That one's quite a bit tighter. Oh my gosh, that one's really tight. Okay, so hey, torque your lugs, and if you take your rig somewhere and they use those little torque sticks, make sure they use them as the torque stick instructions say to use them. We're gonna go ahead and take this off now and then just do some more looking. When you're working on a rig with brand new fancy wheels like this, once you get them broke loose, switch to a chrome socket. It won't scratch the finish of the paint. And better yet, switch to a 12-point narrow wall socket, and that'll give you a little extra room to back these lugs out without running around on the nice shiny black paint. Alright, what do we got here? Oh, we've got wheel spacers. Alright. Interesting. I guess I should have expected that. Let's spin this around to where that mark is. Okay, so that's just the balance mark. That's a groove in the rotor. So it's not that this is hitting something, it just makes it look like a darker mark when it comes around. So here, I'll show you. So as it was spinning, this looked like a dark mark, like something was maybe contacting the caliper or the caliper bracket or the caliper or something, but it's not. This is just a weight where they've machined this rotor out, probably to help balance it a little bit, because it's a pretty big rotor. So we're not actually contacting things here, but we are probably contacting somewhere with that warpage going on. So let's keep digging. We got to get this spacer off next. It'd be interesting to know the torque on these spacer lugs, but we'll see if we can tell just by the way the impact deals with it here. These puppies are torqued. Let's try a little more persuasion here. Woo! Golly! Alright. We were able to get two off with the impact, and then we had to lean into the rest with the breaker bar. Here's our spacer now. Pretty plain Jane spacer. There's no real name brand on it. Somebody's been beating on it with a hammer for whatever reason. Yeah, interesting. No name spacers, about an inch and a quarter or so. Doesn't say anywhere on them. We got some hammer marks. We got some blue anodizing. It has been completely off. The little retainer clips from the factory aren't there. Let's pop the caliper off and the rotor off, and then we'll check run out on the axle flange. It might be that we have a goofy wheel spacer. Oh, the caliper bracket has to come off to get the rotor off? That's not cool, bro. Okay, we've got the caliper bracket off. Now we should be able to slide our rotor off. There we go. And life is pretty good. Okay, park brake shoes look okay. You know, everything looks okay in here. We're gonna do the same thing we did before. Start it up, put it in gear, and this time we're gonna check run out on this wheel mounting flange service here. Yeah, and for that we will get a little scientific. Hang on. All right, here's where we're at. We got our fancy science set up here. She's touchy, so she's at about 0. I hope you can read those numbers on there. And we've got our pointer on the outside edge, close to the outside edge of the axle flange. And then third step, we took our paint pen and we marked top dead center once we got to one end of the range. I've already been through this a couple revolutions, not gonna lie, but now we're at the 0 end of our range. And then let's go ahead a little bit at a time here. I don't think you can see that. Maybe here, maybe. So now we're at 10 thousandths. Almost 20 thousandths, about 17, 18 at max. Nope, right at 20. And then you'll watch that as we come back around to our white mark. We're back at 0. So we have 20 thousandths of run out, and that is right about, let's find that spot here. See, we start going back down, and we'll back it up right about there. And then we'll take our handy dandy paint pen and we'll go 2 marks there. Now 20 thousandths may not seem like a lot, but considering this is in about a 6-inch diameter, and then you take that 20 and you multiply it from 6 inches. Here's our 6-inch diameter ring where you can see the axle flange mounts to the inside of the brake rotor, and then that variance multiplies until you get out here. So I'm gonna look up what is acceptable. I hope we don't have a legitimate bent axle going on here. And then at the same time, we're gonna get some more science out. We're gonna clean this spacer up and make sure that it is true, the same thickness at each one of these wheel studs. And then we'll see where we are from there. So let's do a little measuring, and then we'll check in. Okay, so we took our digital caliper and measured our wheel spacer. And by the way, I did find one more mark on this guy that gave me a little bit of relief. USA right there. So that helps, but we went ahead and measured either way. And these are 1.5 inch spacers. And I marked it right here because this is the stud I started at. And this one measured 1.503, and then at the most we had 1/1000th of an inch difference, and that's me sitting here holding it in one hand and measuring with another hand, which can easily, you know, create that. So spacer's fine. Flange may not be fine, rotor may not be fine. Our final test here is we're going to go back to the unscientific nuts and bolts method of things. We're going to start the Jeep up without the rotor on it and caliper on it, put it in drive and let it idle a little bit, and we're just going to see what 20 thousandths looks like. It's got a wobble to it, and I don't like it. All right, we're gonna have to call the customer and see what he wants to do. So here's the issue. I had pretty decent quality brake pads on it, but that wobbling on these are ceramic disc brakes, and this little pad here that clips over the actual brake pad is what keeps that squeak from happening. And it's got a coating on it, kind of like a rubberized coating. Well, right here, that coating's been worn through, and you can see the shiny bit there down by the metal. And on the outboard or inboard, one or the other, on the other pad, same thing. We're not worn too bad here, we're getting there, but on this side we've worn through the anti-squeak coating. Well, I just covered that back up, but we're worn through here, and we're worn through here, and we're worn through on this edge, and the edge especially could be the thing creating that squawk. So we could throw brakes on it, and he'd get who knows how many. I'm gonna guess these brakes probably have 10,000 miles on him is all. And he's going to get another 10,000 miles out of it. And then eventually the brakes we throw on here are going to start to do that same noise, and they're going to squeak again. And that's if that's what's squeaking, because you could also get a squeak from one of these contact points inside of the park brake drum where the park brake shoe is connecting. And we can see if we go around this drum, we get pretty good contact there. And again, this is just a park brake, so you're not going to see a lot of wear. But then on this side of the drum, it doesn't contact near as much. And then, you know, we start getting back into it. And then here, we're back into the shiny bits. So this is catching. He's not driving around with the park brake on, so this is catching and wearing the park brake shoes as well, consistently just driving around. So it kind of needs to be addressed. Okay, so we went a little scientifics on you there for a second. Now we're going back to straight up Freedom 1 caveman garage logic here. And I'm just gonna surprise you because, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna start this thing up again. Press the brake just enough to get it into drive. Let her freewheel. We're gonna walk over to the passenger side where, yes, this is what I've done. I have mounted the driver's side rear brake rotor reversed onto the passenger side wheel spacer. Okay, I want you to watch along with me here. Like that. We're going to spin this. The runout's gone. It's all in that axle flange. Okay, JK owners, Wrangler Unlimited owners, non-Rubicon though. You guys and gals got other noises happening to your Jeeps. So, second complaint from this customer, and I got it to replicate on a test drive or two, is that like backing out of the driveway in reverse, put the Jeep in drive, get on the accelerator, and there's a click. Not really a clunk, more of a click. And so I made it do it a few times. And then we got her at home and we're waiting to decide on the old axle flange. And so we thought, well, let's take a look at this clicking or clunking noise too. So first thing, let's check drive shaft. You hear that little bit of noise at the front this way. That's just some chain slop in the transfer case. That's normal, no big deal. But now if we go, hear the difference? Then do it that way, just right there. Then do it that way. Oh, see, it didn't do it that time. The more torque I give it, the louder it is. It's coming from inside of this boot. And there's nothing that indicates it slips there. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. What do you think? But you have like a splined drive shaft on this side and a smooth, normal looking drive shaft on this side. And if you just lightly do it, no noise. You put a little torque to it and you get a click. It's weird. If I bind and turn this one this way and this one this way, goes away. Oh. It's only if I let up and let it have its slot back that it does it. That's the noise I'm hearing. How How are we supposed to service that, Jeep? It sounds dry as all. You can't get the clips off. That's dang loud. Anyway, hey, JK owners, let me know. For now, there's nothing wrong with the CV joints. The only thing is the noise, guys, it's loud. The only thing is the noise. So I'm okay with sending this back out, but I'm telling you, this guy that's gonna bug him. He's just that type of guy, and I don't blame him one bit. So JK owners, let me know. Short of having a new drive shaft built without the goofiness in the center of it, is there another option to get that loud click? Because this is normal. You won't hear this in a running Jeep, but then, yeah, that's gonna bother you. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas, or if this is happening to you and what you did to fix it, and we'll share the info. Hey everybody, we've got stuff and things. Parts came in. So this should be the axle shaft for that Jeep, and these should be the seat covers for that Jeep. So let's unbox our axle shaft to make sure it looks right, and we'll get this guy on the road. So it's Friday early afternoon. I believe this customer has the weekend off, and he'd kind of like to take the family out for a cruise. So we're going to jump on this right away, as long as this axle looks correct. Alright, so this should be a complete, ready to install axle with bearing seal, tone ring, everything else attached. If we do it this way. Oh, okay. We got a box inside a box. It says Spicer on it, so that's a good sign. By the way, Spicer is the original equipment manufacturer, Dana Spicer, for the Dana 44 rear ends in these Jeeps. And a little moisture on this end of the box. Oh, looks good so far, guys and gals. Yep. This is what we're after. We've got bearing seal, backing plate, tone ring, hub. Okay, see, this is what happens if you don't have a clean workbench. We're ready. I think that's what we need. I'm gonna put you right into time lapse, and we're gonna see if we can't get this tossed into this Jeep here in time for him to have a weekend of enjoyment. Came loose in the backing plate, so we got to cut that one out. Dana 44 is not a C-clip axle, but before you can pull your shaft out, and the easy way to tell that is when you get your new shaft, there's no groove here for the C-clip. In order to pull that shaft out, I think we can get around the parking brake mechanism and springies, but we cannot get around the ABS sensor. So you're gonna have to disconnect this wire, and in order to get that wire off, you got to fight with one of these dang connector retainer thingies, and then we'll pop this ABS sensor out, and then we should be able to start working this axle out of the housing. And then even though it's not a C-clip axle, the seals, you know, 130,000 miles, the seals get in there. So you can come in here and we'll take a small pry bar and pry between the center pin and the axle shaft, and that'll get that shaft started out of the housing. Now we can just slide her out. There we go. Got a little bit of grease coming out, and I don't have a pan over here. Yep. They're the same. So we'll get the splines cleaned up on this one, and we'll get her back in there in just a second. Okay, the old is out. Let's get back in there with a new one here. And it should be pretty straightforward. We got the splines cleaned off. Should just be a slider in. Feeling around for, there we go. Huh. Oh, that's gonna be nice and easy. Nice and easy like. Piece of gravy. I like it. Well, we apologize. This isn't much of an outro. We kind of got behind the gun, or under the, I don't know. We had to get it done because, you know, the customer wanted it for the weekend, so we did. He's happy, but we kind of had to hurry up and didn't have time to move tripods and cameras and stuff. But yeah, the 2008 black Wrangler is happy. It's back on the road, and we're on to the next thing. We appreciate you watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, all that good stuff.
See ya.